Hello students, welcome to my channel Hans Commerce Tutorial for the lectures on commerce, accounts, finance and management. My suggestion to you, before watching the video, please go to the description below my video. You'll find a link there. Take a printout of the problems given in the link and keep it ready before watching the video so that you can be able to understand the problem, the solution and the explanation to get the maximum benefit from the lectures. Thank you. Now we'll start problem number 21. See the 21st problem. PQR Company Limited went into liquidation on 31st December 1995 and the following balance sheet was prepared. Share capital issued and subscribed 20,000 shares of 10 each, fully paid 2 lakh. So we have only equity share capital, we don't have preference. Sundry creditors, preferential creditors are 8,000, partly secured creditors are 25,000 and unsecured creditors are 60,000. So total sundry creditors are 93,000. Abhi ye 93 mein 8,000 alag kar dena hai. That should not be taken. That is a preferential creditor, separately we should take. Partly secured creditor also we segregate it. We'll take only unsecured creditor 60,000 and bank overdraft unsecured 10,000. Right? Now asset side, goodwill, leasehold property, plant and machinery, stock, debtors, cash, profit and loss account. Ignore the profit and loss account. The liquidator realized the assets as follows. Leasehold property which was used in the first instance to pay partly secured creditors. So leasehold property realized 20,000. And this 20,000 will be utilized for making the payment to partly secured creditors. How much are the partly secured creditors? See the balance sheet liability side. Partly secured creditors are 25,000. 25,000 are the creditors and the leasehold property value is 20,000. So remaining 5,000 rupees will be included in unsecured creditors. So we sell the property, leasehold property, we realize 20,000 and we pay this 20,000 rupees to partly secured creditor. Right? Still we have to pay 5,000 rupees more to partly secured creditor. That 5,000 will include it under unsecured creditor. Then plant and machinery realized 90,000, stock 30,000, sundry debtors 7,000, cash 3,000. Expenses of liquidation amounted to 2,840 and the liquidator's remuneration was agreed at 3% on amount realized including cash and 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. So when unsecured creditors is given, it means both preferential as well as unsecured creditor. You are required to prepare liquidator's final statement of account showing the distribution. That's it. So see carefully. PQR Company Limited liquidator's final statement of account. Assets realized. Leasehold property 20,000 paid to partly paid creditors, partly secured creditors is 20,000. Partly secured creditors. Partly secured creditors is 20,000. So nothing is left. 20,000 realized from leasehold property and 20,000 rupees paid. Nothing is left. Plant and machinery 90,000, stock 30,000, sundry debtors 7,000, cash 3,000. All the assets given in the problem realized by the liquidator. Total of receipt side 1,30,000. Now come to payment side. By liquidator's remuneration, that we have to calculate in working notes. 3% on assets realized. Assets realized including cash. So here we have calculated assets realized are 20,000 asset realized by selling the leasehold property. The leasehold property is sold by the liquidator and paid that amount to partly secured creditor. But who has sold it? Liquidator only has sold it. So we have to include 20,000 leasehold property, 90,000 rupees plant and machinery, 30,000 stock, 7,000 debtors and cash 3,000. The total of the assets realized are 1,50,000. 3% of 1,50,000. 3% of 1,50,000 comes to 4,500. This is the liquidator's remuneration on assets realized. Now 2% on amount paid to preferential creditors. It is given preferential creditors are 8,000. So 8,000 into 2% is 160. Now 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditor. Now we have to see whether the company is in a position to make full payment to unsecured creditor or not. Simply by seeing the assets, the total assets realized are 1,30,000 and the payment we require only liquidation expense, preferential creditors 8,000. We don't have any debenture holders. So that means only 75,000 rupees unsecured creditors are there. The company is in a position to make full payment to unsecured creditor. The liquidator is having sufficient funds to pay fully to unsecured creditor. The company is solvent. So how much is the amount due to unsecured creditor? Here I have taken. Unsecured creditor 60,000 given in the balance sheet. Bank overdraft unsecured given in the balance sheet 10,000. Partly secured creditor. Actually, partly secured creditor are 25,000. Out of 25,000, 20,000 are paid. The remaining 5,000 are unsecured. The total unsecured creditor are 75,000. The 2% of 75,000, 1,500. Now add up the three. It comes to 6,160. The 6,160 is the liquidator's remuneration. See, the company has fully paid to unsecured creditors 75,000. To unsecured creditors 75,000 company paid. Still amount is left. That amount will go to equity shareholders. We don't have preference shareholders. If preference shareholders were there, then first preference shareholders will be paid. But here preference shareholders are not there. So directly we will pay off to equity shareholders. So out of 1,30,000 minus 6,160 minus 2,840 minus 8,000 minus 75,000. Remaining balance is 38,000. This 38,000 should be divided by total number of equity shares 20,000. So each share the amount returned is 1 rupee 90 paisa. So 38,000 rupees totally returned to equity shareholders. Each equity share amount gets to 1.90. 38,000 divided by 20,000 shares. That's it. This is the end of problem number 21. Now, 22. The following is given. Balance sheet of A Limited. Share capital 2,000, 14% preference share of 100 each, 2 lakh. We have preference. 1,000 equity share of 100 each, 75 paid up, 75,000. 3,000 equity share of 100 each, 60 paid up, 1,80,000. We have two classes of share. A class equity share, B class equity share. A class equity share 1,000 shares, 75 paid up. And B 3,000 equity shares, 60 rupees paid up. Partly paid up, both. 14% debentures having a floating charge on all the assets, 1 lakh. Then interest outstanding 14,000. So debenture holders should be paid debenture amount plus interest outstanding. Creditors 1,45,000. Nothing is given, we assume unsecured. Land building, plant and machinery, patent, stock, debtors, cash at bank and profit and loss account. Ignore profit and loss account. The company went into liquidation on the above date. What is the date of liquidation? 31st March 2011. The preference dividend were in arrears for 2 years. So if the company is solvent, if the company can be able to make full payment to unsecured creditor, then amount should be returned to preference shareholders. So along with preference share capital, 2 years preference dividend are in arrears, that is to be paid. How much 2 years? 14% of 2 lakh. 14% of 2 lakh comes to 28,000 for 1 year. So 28,000 plus 28,000, 56,000 rupees is the arrears of preference dividend. This 56,000 should be paid to preferential holders. The arrears are payable automatically on liquidation. There is a provision in the Articles of Association that at the time of liquidation, if there are any arrears of preference dividend, that must be paid. Creditors include a loan of 50,000 on the mortgage of land and building. So creditors are given 1,45,000. In that 1,45,000 included is 50,000 creditors, to which the company has mortgaged the building. The building papers has been given to the creditor, 50,000. So out of 1,45,000, we separate 50,000 because 50,000 is secured creditor. The assets were realized as follows. Land and building 1,20,000. Now see here. Land and building realized value is 1,20,000 and there is a creditor to whom we have mortgaged the land and building. How much is the creditor? 50,000. So this 50,000 is the fully secured creditor. They sell away 1,20,000 the land and building and out of that 50,000 will be paid to the creditor. Remaining 70,000 is the surplus. from fully secured creditor. Plant and machinery 2 lakh. Patents 30,000. Stock debtors. These are the realized value of assets by the liquidator. This will be taken on the debit side, receipt side. The expenses of liquidation amounted to 10,900. Credit side. The liquidator is entitled to a commission of 3% on all assets realized except cash. Previous problem it was given including cash. Here except cash it is given. So excluding the cash, take the total of all assets realized, uske upar 3%. And a commission of 2% on amount distributed among unsecured creditor. When it is saying unsecured creditor, we should also calculate for preferential creditors. Preferential creditors amounted to 15,000. अब देखिए, the total sundry creditors are given in the problem 1,45,000. अब वो 1,45,000 में 50,000 रुपीस फुल्ली सिक्योर्ड क्रेडिटर भी है, उसको अलग कर दिए तो 1,45,000 में से 50 निकाल देंगे, 50,000 निकाल देंगे. Now 15,000 रुपीस आर प्रेफरेंशियल क्रेडिटर्स, इसको भी निकाल देंगे तो 1,45,000 minus 50,000 minus 15,000, then we'll get unsecured creditor. Assume the payment was made on September 30th, 2011. Prepare the liquidator's final statement of account. Payment was made to all the parties on 30th September 2011. Actually, what is the date of winding up order? 31st March. On 31st March, the company was liquidated. April, May, June, July, August, September. September 30th, all the payments are made. So after 6 months, after the winding up order, 6 months, the liquidator has taken 6 months to pay all the parties. Now one provision is there. If the company is solvent, then interest on debenture should be paid up to the date of payment. If the company is insolvent, the interest on debenture should be paid to the last date. That means winding up date. Winding up date 31st March. तो इंटरेस्ट 31st मार्च तक ही पे करेंगे डिबेंचर होल्डर्स को, उसके बाद का पे नहीं करेंगे अगर कंपनी इंसॉल्वेंट. अगर इफ द कंपनी इज सॉल्वेंट, देन इंटरेस्ट शुड बी पेड अप टू द डेट ऑफ पेमेंट. अब हमारे प्रॉब्लम में देखेंगे, अगर कंपनी सॉल्वेंट है तो और 6 मंथ्स का इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट करना. यहां पर इंटरेस्ट दिया है 14% डिबेंचर्स हैविंग ए फ्लोटिंग चार्ज ऑन ऑल एसेट्स 1 लाख, इंटरेस्ट आउटस्टैंडिंग 14,000. So already for 1 year interest 14,000 is outstanding. If the company is going to become solvent, then 6 months more. तो 1 साल का इंटरेस्ट 14,000 है, तो 6 months का इंटरेस्ट 7,000 होगा और 7,000 रुपीज इंटरेस्ट आउटस्टैंडिंग लेना पड़ेगा. If the company is solvent, that's all. So these are the provisions. See carefully. A Limited liquidator's final statement of account. Assets realized. Land and building are sold for 1,20,000 due to creditors 50,000. Fully secured creditors are 50,000. Payment करने के बाद 70,000 surplus. Plant and machinery, patent, stock, debtors, bank. These are all the assets realized by the liquidator. Now by liquidator's remuneration. Liquidator's remuneration in working note we'll find out 16,600 afterwards. Now liquidation expense given in the problem. Debenture holders 14% debenture 1 lakh. One point is clear. See here. Actually, the total of the receipts are 5,15,500, whereas the debenture holders are only 1,14,000. Afterwards, we'll take the 7,000. 1,14,000. तो 5,15,500 है, जबकि debenture holders को 1,14,000, preferential creditors 15,000, unsecured creditors 80,000. That means the company is in a position to make full payment to unsecured creditor. The company is in a position, by seeing the structure of the problem itself, we can say 5,15,500 rupees are there, and the amounts of payments required is very less. So the company is a solvent company. So interest will be paid to debenture holders up to the date of payment. Date of payment is 30th September. तो 6 महीने का इंटरेस्ट और देना पड़ेगा डिबेंचर होल्डर्स को. तो that's why to buy debenture holders 14% debenture are 1 lakh, interest outstanding 14,000 for 1 year. This is given in the balance sheet itself. And interest outstanding for 6 months 7,000. This in working note you have to write down. This is not given in the problem. 7,000 not given in the problem. But we know the provision of Companies Act 2013. that if the company is solvent, debenture holders should be paid interest up to the date of payment, not up to the date of winding up. तो और 6 महीने का इंटरेस्ट भी पे करेंगे 7,000. तो टोटल अमाउंट पेएबल टू डिबेंचर होल्डर्स आर 1,21,000. Now preferential creditors are given in the problem 15,000. Unsecured creditor 80,000. How we got this 80,000? Total creditors are 1,45,000 given in the balance sheet. Out of 1,45,000, 50,000 are included. Which is that 50,000? Fully secured creditor. In the problem itself it is given. The creditors include 50,000 rupees creditors to which we have mortgaged the land and building. तो निकाल दो, अलग दे दिया उसको. Apart from that 15,000 rupees are preferential creditors. तो 1,45,000 में से minus 50,000 minus 15,000, you will get 80,000 rupees unsecured creditor. 1,45,000 minus 50 minus 50. That's it. Now easily we can calculate liquidator's remuneration. Now see, liquidators will 3% on assets realized. 3% of assets realized are 1,20,000 plus 70,000 plus 2 lakh plus 30,000 plus 60,000 plus 80,000. It is asking that bank balance should not be included, cash should not be included. So we have taken 1,20,000 plus 2 lakh plus 30,000 plus 60,000 plus 80,000. We have not included bank balance. Specifically given in the problem not to include cash. So 3% of this amount, 4,90,000 comes to 14,700. Second, 2% on amount paid to preferential creditors. So preferential creditors are 15,000 into 2%, 3,000. And 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Unsecured creditors are 80,000. So 80,000 ka 2% 1,600. Take the total 16,600. This is the liquidator's remuneration. That's it. So we have taken all the amount up to unsecured creditor. Now after making the payment to unsecured creditor, if still amount is left, first it will be paid to preference shareholders. The preference share capital is 2 lakh rupees. Now it is given in the problem that 2 years preference dividend are in arrears. 2 years preference dividend are in arrears. So what is the rate of preference dividend? 14%. So 14% of 2 lakh, 28,000 for 1 year. For 1 year, 28,000. For 2 years, 28,000 into 2, 56,000. So arrears of dividend are 56,000. So 2 lakh plus 56,000. 2,56,000 will be paid to preference shareholders. Now remaining amount will go to equity shareholders. If there is only one class of equity shareholders, then we would have taken the balancing figure. जो भी balance बचेगा after paying 2,56,000, whatever cash is left, that leftover cash will be paid to equity shareholders. But in our problem, we have two classes of equity shares, and both the classes of equity shares have different paid up values. दो क्लास ऑफ इक्विटी शेयर है, ए क्लास बी क्लास, और दोनों का पेड अप अमाउंट अलग अलग है. तो यहां पर इक्विटेबल बेसिस के ऊपर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना पड़ेगा. तो इक्विटेबल बेसिस कैसा मालूम करेंगे? टोटल डेफिशिएंसी वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट. टोटल डेफिशिएंसी वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट, देन डेफिशिएंसी पर शेयर वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट. कंपेयर द डेफिशिएंसी पर शेयर विद द पेड अप अमाउंट टू डिसाइड how much amount should be paid or how much amount should be called. Now for this total deficiency, total receipts are 5,15,500 and the total payments are 16,600 plus 10,900 plus 1,21,000 plus 15,000 plus 80,000 plus 80,000 plus 2,56,000. ये पूरे पेमेंट्स हैं. ये पूरा पेमेंट करने के बाद नेट अमाउंट अवेलेबल इज ओनली 16,000. 16,000 रुपए बचे हुए हैं. अब ये 16,000 रुपए किसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना है? इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को, दोनों क्लासेस के इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स को. तो देखिए कितना पेमेंट करना है. हाउ मच टोटल अमाउंट वी हैव टू पे टू इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर्स. तो अमाउंट पेबल 1,000 शेयर्स इंटू ₹75. 100 रुपीज का एक शेयर है, लेकिन पेड अप वैल्यू 75 रुपीज है. हाउ मेनी शेयर्स आर देयर? 1,000. तो 1,000 into 75, 75,000. Second, B class, 3,000 shares are there of ₹100 each, but 60 rupees paid up. 60 rupees paid up. So 3,000 into 60, 1,80,000. 75,000 plus 1,80,000, 2,55,000. So 2,55,000 rupees is the total payment required to equity shareholders. But we are having only 16,000. We are having cash in hand of only 16,000 rupees. So how much total deficiency? 2,55,000 minus 16,000, you get 2,39,000 is the total deficiency, shortage. इतना पैसा shortage हो, तो एक शेयर के ऊपर कितना होगा deficiency per share? तो 2,39,000 divided by 4,000, ये 1,000 shares और ये 3,000 shares, totally 4,000 shares. तो each share deficiency comes to 59.75. 2,39,000 divided by 4,000, 59.75. So per share deficiency 59.75. Now we have to compare this deficiency per share with the paid up value per share. तो फर्स्ट ए क्लास शेयर जो है उसके ऊपर 75 रुपीज पेड अप है. दे हैव पेड 75 रुपीज. डेफिशिएंसी इज हाउ मच? 59.75. तो 75 रुपीज माइनस 59.75, you will get 15.25. You will get 15.25. 75 minus, I'll write down here, 75 minus 59.25 is equal to 15.25. 15.25. 15 rupees 25 paisa per share should be paid to A class shareholders who have paid 75 rupees per share. एक शेयर के ऊपर 75 रुपीज पे कर दिए वो लोग. डेफिशिएंसी हो रहा है 59.75. तो 75 minus 59.25, you will get 59.75. Sorry, not 25. 59.75. Deficiency 59.75. 15.25 per share should be returned back. On how many shares? 1,000 shares. So here I have taken by equity shareholders 1,000 shares into 15.25. 15,250. 15,250. ये हो गया. अब second B class share. The paid up value per share is 60 rupees. The paid up value per share is 60 rupees. How much is the deficiency? 59.75. Deficiency 59.75. So 60 minus 59.75. 60 minus 59.75 is equal to 0.25. 25 paisa. 0.25 per share should be returned to B class share. So how many shares are there in B class? 3,000 shares are there. So on 3,000 shares, per share 25 paisa will be returned. So here I have written 3,000 shares into 0.25, 750 rupees. So 750 rupees should be paid. So total amount available 16,000. Total amount available are 16,000. वो 16,000 में 15,250 rupees will be paid to A class shareholders, and 750 rupees should be paid to B class shareholders. ये दोनों को ऐड कर लो, आपको 16,000 rupees आ जाएगा. That's it. Little bit थोड़ा सा twisted problem है, but if you have practiced, if you have coolly concentrated on the solution and see the steps by step, only 1 or 2 points are difficult. Remaining all the points are completely clear. Regarding assets realized, there is no doubt about assets realized. Regarding liquidators remuneration, there is absolutely no doubt at all. The company is solvent, so directly we can calculate. So we have calculated liquidators remuneration. Liquidation expense given in the problem. Debenture holder, you have to explain in working note that the company is solvent, so interest will be paid up to the date of payment, not up to the date of winding up. तो 6 महीने का इंटरेस्ट और देना पड़ेगा डिबेंचर होल्डर्स को, because the company is solvent. This is a provision according to Companies Act 2013. Then डिबेंचर होल्डर्स का ये एक नया पॉइंट. Preferential creditors, no doubt about it, specifically given in the problem. Then unsecured creditor, 1,45,000 में से 50 निकाल दिया, 15 निकाल दिया तो 80,000 रुपीज पे कर दिए. That's it. Up preferential holders, it is given for 2 years. There is a arrear in preference dividend. So 56,000 rupees it should be paid. Preference dividend should be paid. So 2 lakh plus 56,000. 2,56,000 will be paid. After making all the payments, still amount remaining is 16,000. Now this 16,000 should be distributed among A class and B class equity share. That I have explained you in detail. Hope you understood. So this is the end of problem number 22. Now we'll start problem number 23. The following is the balance sheet of Messrs Unfortunate Limited as on 31st December. Balance sheet is given. Share capital 2,500, equity shares of 100 each, 75 paid up, 1,87,500. 7,500 equity share of 100 each, 60 paid up, 4,50,000. We have two classes of shares. First class of share, 2,500 shares, 75 paid up per share. Whereas second class of share are 7,500 shares, 7,500 shares of rupees 100 each, 60 paid up. The first category of shares 75 paid up, second category of shares 60 paid up. 5,006% preference share of 100 each fully paid up 5 lakh. 5% mortgage debentures 2,50,000. Interest outstanding 12,500. Creditors 3,62,500. Land and building, machinery, patent, stock, debtors, cash at bank and profit and loss account. Ignore the profit and loss account because it's a fictitious asset, accumulated loss. The liquidator is entitled to a commission of 3% on all assets realized except cash. So for calculating liquidator's remuneration, cash should not be included in assets realized. And 2% on amount distributed among unsecured creditors other than preferential creditors. So 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. While calculating this, we should not consider preferential creditors specifically given. If that is not given, we would have calculated on both preferential creditors as well as unsecured creditors. Now creditors include preferential creditor 37,500. Now in the balance sheet, creditors are given 3,62,500. In that 3,62,500, 37,500 are the preferential creditors. So we'll segregate it. Nikal denge usko. And a loan of 1,25,000 secured by mortgage on land and building. That 3,62,500 consists of 37,500 preferential creditors and 1,25,000 is a loan which is secured by a mortgage of land and building. तो ये दोनों को भी निकाल देंगे. 1,25,000 and 37,500 ये दोनों को भी subtract कर देंगे 3,62,500 में से. The remaining amount is the unsecured creditors. The preference dividend were in arrears for 2 years. So first of all, we have to see whether the company is solvent or not. If the company is solvent, if the company can be able to make full payment to unsecured creditors, then only preference share capital and arrears of preference dividend is payable. The assets realized was as follows. Land and building 3 lakh. Actually, land and building was sold for 3 lakh, but it's a mortgaged land and building. The loan outstanding against this land and building is 1,25,000. So what the liquidator will do? The liquidator will sell the land and building for 3 lakh. From that 3 lakh, 1,25,000 rupees he will pay to the creditors loan. Remaining amount is the surplus. Then machinery 5 lakh, patent 75,000, stock 1,50,000, debtors 2 lakh. The expense of liquidation 27,250. Prepare the liquidator's final statement of account. Now see carefully. Messrs Unfortunate Limited liquidator's final statement. Assets. Land and building realized 3 lakh rupees, out of which mortgage was 1,25,000. Loan, mortgage loan was 1,25,000. I'll write down here loan, mortgage loan. Mortgage loan is 1,25,000. Subtract 1,25,000, 1,75,000 is the surplus. Then machinery, patent, stock, debtors, bank. All the assets are realized. The total comes to 11,75,000. The total fund available 11,75,000. Now we will see whether the company is solvent or insolvent just by seeing the amounts. Just by seeing the amounts. Liquidator's remuneration afterwards we'll calculate because 3% on assets realized, 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Liquidation expense 27,250. Debenture holders are paid 2,50,000. Interest outstanding 12,500 given in the balance sheet. Liability side it is given. Debenture as well as interest outstanding both are payable 2,62,500. Then preferential creditors are 37,500. Unsecured creditors are 2 lakh. How we got 2 lakh just now I have explained in detail. Out of 3,62,500 we subtract 37,500 which is preferential creditors and this preferential creditors. Then 1,25,000 is the mortgage loan that we have already paid here. The net amount of unsecured creditors are 2 lakh rupees. The company is a solvent company because out of 11,75,000, only few amounts are there. 2,62,500 is a debenture, 2 lakh rupees are the unsecured creditor. So easily company can pay fully to unsecured creditor. Now we will find out liquidator's remuneration. Liquidator's remuneration, 3% on assets realized. While calculating these assets realized, cash or bank should not be considered. Apart from that, 3 lakh rupees the liquidator realized by selling the land and building. The land and building was sold by the liquidator himself. That's why we should take 3 lakh. Plus 5 lakh rupees, this one, plus 75,000, plus 1,50,000, plus 2 lakh. The total of all the assets realized, 12,25,000. 3% comes to 36,750. And 2% on amount paid to unsecured creditors. Unsecured creditors मालूम करने के लिए ये minus 37,500 minus 1,25,000, 2 lakh rupees are the amount paid to unsecured creditor. So 2% of 2 lakh comes to 4,000. So total liquidator's remuneration is 40,750. So easily we have calculated the liquidator's remuneration. The liquidation expense given in the problem of debenture holders, already we discussed. Preferential creditor 37,500, unsecured creditor 2 lakh. All the outside parties are paid off. Now remaining funds are available for paying to shareholders. First of all, the amount should be paid to preference shareholders. Later on, equity. Preference shareholders. So first of all, preference share capital is 5 lakh rupees. It is given that preference dividend is in arrear for 2 years. For 2 years, preference dividend has not been paid. Now it is to be paid. So 6% of 5 lakh is 30,000. 6% of 5 lakh is 30,000. The 30,000 is the preference dividend for 1 year. For 2 years, 30,000 into 2, 60,000. So 60,000 rupees are the arrears of preference dividend outstanding. Add up. 5,60,000 will be paid to preference shareholders. Now still some remaining amount is there. That will be paid to equity shareholders. If there is only one equity shareholder, we would have taken balancing figure. Equity shareholders balancing figure, no need of any calculations, no working notes. If only one type of equity shares were there. But here in this problem we have two categories of shares. Two categories of shares. First 2,500 shares, second 7,500 shares. First 2,500 shares, 75 paid up. Second 7,500 shares, 60 paid up. So liquidator has to make an equitable distribution between these two types of shareholders. For that purpose, we have to calculate deficiency, total deficiency and deficiency per share. Now we'll come to the working notes. See carefully. Total deficiency. Total receipts are 11,75,000. Debit side 11,75,000. We have taken 11,75,000. Total payment. Now total payment 40,750, 27,250, 2,62,500, 37,500, 2 lakh. So total deficiency. Total receipts are 11,75,000. From the total receipt, we are subtracting total payment. The total payment are 40,750, 27,250, 2,62,500, 37,500, 2 lakh rupees and 5,60,000. These are all the total payments to outside parties, even preference shareholders. Now amount available is 47,000. This 47,000 rupees are available for making the payment to equity shareholders. Equity shareholders. Now we'll find out the deficiency. How much is the amount payable to equity shareholders? 2,500 equity shares are there, on which 75 rupees per share paid up. So 2,500 into 75, 1,87,500. 7,500 shares into rupees 60. So total deficiency. Now see here. 2,500 shares into rupees 75, 1,87,500. 7,500 shares into rupees 60, 4,50,000. So total amount payable to equity shareholders 6,37,500. So total deficiency, how much is the shortage? So payable to equity shareholders 6,37,500, whereas amount available is only 47,000. So 637,500 minus 47,000, you will get 5,90,500. This is the total deficiency. Now per share, deficiency per share, 5,90,500 divided by 10,000 shares. 2500 plus 7500, 10,000 shares. So 59.05 is the deficiency per share. Now this deficiency will be deducted from the paid up value per share. From the paid up value per share. एक शेयर होल्डर कितना पे करा और कितनी डेफिशिएंसी है, डेफिशिएंसी निकालेंगे. जितना भी अमाउंट बचा हुआ है, that amount will be repaid by the company to the shareholder. Now 2,500 shares, 7,500. Paid up value per share is 75 rupees and 60 rupees. So on 2,500 shares, 75 rupees paid up. On 7,500 shares, 60 rupees paid up. From paid up value, deduct the deficiency per share. 59.05, subtract 59.05. So 75 minus 59.05, 15.95. So rupees 15.95 per share on 2,500 shares will be repaid by the company. So here we have taken by equity shareholders 2,500 shares into 15.95. This 15.95. 39,875. Next, 0.95. 60 minus 59.05. You will get 0.95. So 0.95 per share is the amount to be repaid on 7,500 shares. On 7,500 shares. So here we have taken 7,500 shares into 0.95, 7,125. If you add up both these, you will get 47,000. So in this way, the account liquidated as final statement of account is closed by paying to all the parties. That's all. So this is the completion of problem number 23.